In the fall of 2019, I set out on a road trip to explore the southeast region of the United States, discovering some of the marvels of West Virginia, watching the leaves change color over the Appalachian Mountains, and pushing my car to the limit on the twisty back road that is the tail of the dragon. This was a journey that would have me driving my 370Z over 2,500 miles through 7 different states, and would ultimately land me in a ditch on the side of the road in the mountains of Tennessee. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. If you'll give me just a moment of your time, I will explain all. Uh-oh. So it is about 4 in the morning now, and the Z is parked in the garage, which means we do have a slight problem. So obviously I do have a modified exhaust on the 370. I do live in a townhome complex, which means there are a few people that share this complex with me. And if I were to start this thing up right now, it would be shaking houses a couple doors down, and I don't think people will take too kindly to that at 4 a.m. So here's what I'm thinking. Alright, so that is the car pushed out of the garage now. We will get the car started. And let's get out of here really quickly before we wake somebody up. So as you guys saw this morning, I am getting quite an early start today because today is the longest leg of the drive that I'm going to be doing. We have about 1,000 miles to go to get to Charleston, West Virginia. I have some family I am seeing up there, so that will be fun. But of course, we have about 16 hours of driving to do. 1,037 miles. Might as well get started. Alright, so we just made it to our first pit stop. We're now in Little Rock, Arkansas. The car's just been soaking up the miles. Been taking a look at the weather, and it's looking like it is going to be raining pretty much all day. Not exactly ideal. Kind of hoping the weather will let up a little bit just because I don't want to have to be driving through the storm, but it seems like I'll be chasing it pretty much the entire drive. Sounds like the car's finished filling up. Unfortunately, the rain never did let up. In fact, it only got worse throughout the day, and ultimately ended up following me all the way to West Virginia. It got so bad at times that the Z had to learn how to swim. Here's me treading through about 5 to 6 inches of water, not by choice, but because the gas station I had stopped at was in a floodplain, and the only other way out was blocked by a wreck that had happened a couple minutes earlier. Thankfully, with a bit of speed, and falling behind the wake of this pickup, the Z coped just fine. The rain did let up from time to time, and my progress was only impeded by the occasional truck driver trying to pass in the left lane. Been stuck behind these two 18-wheelers for quite some time now. And after a couple more hours of driving, I had made it to Memphis. Memphis, I was able to drop off the bass brakes with a subscriber who was looking to buy them in the Memphis area. Huge shout out to you, you know who you are. Thank you for picking those up from me. And that also freed up the space in my trunk, so now I can store my huge bag of stuff over there, and I can actually see my shotgun mirror now and use that, so that's at least good. We're on our way to Nashville, Tennessee now. It's a little over 2 hours away. If the weather lets up a little bit, might be checking out a couple of things in the area, but I don't know if the weather's going to be letting up anytime soon. I've still been following this exact same storm cell. It's been raining non-stop. The roads are pretty badly flooded. I've been seeing a few cars in the ditch on the oncoming traffic over there, so So yeah, the traffic's looking a bit crazy, but anyways, we'll keep driving on to Nashville, Tennessee, and I'll catch up with y'all there. I made good progress for the next 50 miles, but just before crossing the Tennessee River, I hit one of the worst traffic jams I had ever been in. So I made the grave mistake of passing up the last rest stop a few miles ago, and now I am stuck in the parking lot that is the I-40 on the way to Nashville, Tennessee. On the bright side though, it looks like the clouds are clearing up a little bit. We can finally see the sky. We might get some daylight today. Based on the sirens that I'm hearing, it sounds like it was probably another wreck. Yep, here they come. Oh, it's been one hell of a day. And I'm only halfway there. We just passed over the halfway point a few miles back. So I got a lot of driving to do tonight. Thank you. Sounds like we've got another one coming. Morning, officer. This traffic continued for over an hour, and as I neared the river I began to see signs of why the traffic had slowed. And then as I crossed the bridge over the Tennessee, I was greeted with the sight of several trucks flipped over on their side. The scene was pretty terrible. To this day I am not quite sure what had happened here, but clearly it looked like some very strong winds had blown through. Whatever it was, I had just barely missed it, and I can only hope that nobody was seriously injured. It had created a huge traffic jam about 20 miles in either direction, but fortunately I was through it all. It was already 3 in the afternoon, and I still had 500 miles to go, so it was time to start getting some serious miles done. According to that big sign I just passed, it looks like I'm finally in West Virginia, which means I do believe it is time for Almost Heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountains, Shannon. Oh, wait a second. Yeah, that's right. Copyright infringement, guys. Sorry, my bad. Alright, guys, welcome to West Virginia. There are a ton of places to explore in West Virginia. The first thing I had to check out was the New River Gorge Bridge. Completed in 1977, it was designed to cut the commute across the gorge from almost an hour down to less than a minute. It stands over 850 feet above the river, making it the 3rd highest bridge in North America. We also checked out the West Virginia Capitol grounds, and its famous Golden Dome, which I've never actually seen before because every time I've been out here it's been under renovation. And we weren't the only ones checking out the dome. Trying to eat it. Anyway, we also saw the governor's mansion, which the current governor doesn't even use, a handful of war memorials scattered around the plaza, and even a memorial to the West Virginia coal miner. The heritage of coal in the state is abundantly clear, between the various coal plants scattered throughout the state, coal cars constantly going through, abandoned mining equipment laying everywhere, and old mining camps and housing. This one belonged to my great-grandfather back in the 1940s, though it had seen better days. I wonder how long it's been since somebody's lived here.
I don't know, but
that's at least a couple weeks.
I know, this is supposed to be about cars, not renovating shacks. So here's a look at some of my great-uncle's collection. This here is a 1931 Model A, which he's owned for over 50 years.
This is 31. We've had this car. We've had it 53 years. I bought this one.
He also owns a 1928 Ford Model A Tudor sedan and this beautiful Ford Model A pickup. Got plans to get this one running pretty soon?
It just needs a battery now. When I sold that 29, I had to take the ignition switch out of it. Because that 29 evidently knew it was going to get sold and would not start.
Unfortunately, it doesn't run at the moment, but this one does. There you go. That there is a sound from the 30s. And for those of you more into modern cars, here's his C7 Corvette, which unfortunately he doesn't drive much, so it just gathers dust. I think I now know which side of my family my love of cars comes from. I gave him a quick tour of the Z, and even had him start it up. Here. So, I think it should be in neutral already. So it's just clutch down, clutch all the way down to the bottom, and then, yeah. Which I kid you not, he said sounds a little bit like a muscle car. And I quote, "Not like one of them rice burners you kids drive these days. Thanks, Fast Intentions." On that note, I took this muscle car sounding Z34 out on some of West Virginia's back roads, where I ran into this old F355 Spider. He was only out for a leisurely cruise though, so I quickly sped past and hit some of the twisties on State Route 60, which while not the twistiest road in the world, it does have some amazing views of the Kanawha River. And my God is West Virginia beautiful in the fall. I really wish I could have spent more time here, but this trip wasn't even halfway over, and there was still a lot to see, including my next destination. Alright, so it is now day 4 of my trip. I am done in West Virginia. It was wonderful being able to visit family up here. Today we will be driving out to the north entrance of the Blue Ridge Parkway. We'll be doing the first half of the parkway today. Unfortunately, it does look like it is going to be quite foggy and rainy, as you will soon see. I was hoping for some clearer skies because Blue Ridge Parkway is quite beautiful, especially during the fall. We've got a couple hundred miles to cover, a few hours before we get to the parkway, and then we'll be driving it for the rest of the day. I soon made it to the border of Virginia, and after a 2-hour drive north up Interstate 81, I was at the north entrance of the Blue Ridge Parkway. Right, welcome to Blue Ridge Parkway. It is currently October 30th, the day before Halloween, so it seems that the parkway has added a bit of a spooky factor for us today with all the fog, so visibility is really low. You can only see about 40 or 50 feet. So we'll be taking it pretty slow, and over the next couple of days I'll be driving the entire length of the parkway. There's really not much more to it. Let's go ahead and get started. It's going to be a long drive ahead. Hopefully we'll get some clearance in the fog so that we can actually get some decent pictures today. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started.
In the old ways, before the dark days came to change our life.
Car has definitely been eating tons of leaves in here. Not too bad though. I am surprised that I got all of these leaves stuck inside the wheel as well. I'd be a little more concerned about this if the brakes were actually getting kind of hot, but I can leave my hand sitting on top of them and I just finished driving. So the brakes are actually pretty cool, so this isn't too big of an issue. She's certainly been eating up a ton of leaves, but I really don't blame her. I mean, they are just all over the place. Blue Ridge Parkway is absolutely beautiful during the fall.
I've been working for a reason, but I hardly made the grade. 'Cause we're all part of something bigger. They can do anything perfect.
I continued on my way through the parkway, trudging through the rain and bouts of fog that would roll through. The weather must have turned a lot of travelers away because since I had joined the parkway over an hour ago, I hadn't run across another car. Oh look, signs of life! It's been about an hour since I've seen anybody on the road here. The C7 didn't stick around long though, pulling over promptly to let me by. I waved goodbye to the driver of one of the few cars I actually saw on the parkway that day. I continued on my way, with rain and visibility only getting worse throughout the day. This brought my pace to a crawl at times, preventing me from getting to my overnight stay until late into the night. Right, welcome back. I am finally headed back towards the parkway now to pick up where I left off last night. It is once again raining, no surprises there, so video footage will probably be limited today. It is Halloween, so I decided to decorate up a little bit. I haven't been able to think of a great name for him yet, so I'm just going to call him Gerald. He looks excited to get back on the parkway, and so am I, so we'll go ahead and hit the road again. I made my way along the southern half of the parkway, which runs through North Carolina. I've always thought that this half of the parkway was more scenic. Between the various viaducts and overlooks that make for great photography. That is, of course, if you can actually see them, since the weather had carried over from the night previously. Still, I was able to enjoy the handful of tunnels that the North Carolina segment had to offer. But the various sticks and other debris along the road left over from the storms was beginning to cause trouble for my lowered 370. Been dragging this stick for the past 20 or 30 miles. I don't know if y'all can hear that. Let's see if I can pull over here and get it out from under the car. Fortunately, I had brought jacks with me, and it took all of 5 minutes to jack the car up and dislodge the stick. If I had a metal drive shaft, I might not have been so worried, but with that out of the way, Gerald and I hit the road once again, taking in the scenery during the occasional break in the fog.
I've been working for a reason, but I hardly made the grade. 'Cause we're all part of something bigger. They can do anything
The following morning, I found myself in the Nantahala National Forest in North Carolina, home to one of the twistiest roads in the world. Deal's Gap, known by its more popular nickname, the Dragon, is an 11-mile, 2-lane mountain pass containing 318 turns, which are said to resemble a dragon's tail. Toge Fest is held every year here in November, where car enthusiasts from all over the nation get together to drive the road and experience the thrills of some of its most technical corners with names such as Gravity Cavity or Copperhead Corner. Like everyone else, I was eager to hit the turns, but before that, I had to meet up with a buddy of mine, whose car some of you earlier subscribers may have seen before. Right, so welcome to North Carolina. This is like what, Robbinsville? I think we're technically in Robbinsville.
They shut this on my car while I was at the shop. I just forget what that is. We'll just stick something on it.
Was it tar?
We'll just come by and just, no, it's a chip.
Oh.
Yeah, finally a chip on the 1990 bumper. Almost 30-year-old bumper finally got a chip on it. It's actually survived quite a long time with all the original stuff on the exterior.
So yeah, we're just gonna try and get Jamal's car off of the U-Haul trailer here. You said you were worried about scraping on something because the radiators. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, you see the
yeah, the
shroud?
fans just.
But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Honestly, if I was to hit anything right there, it was gonna cause damage anyway. I don't know that there's a way around it. However, if that fan dies, it's actually not the end of the world. It's cold as hell. All that cold air coming in right on the oversized radiator should be fine. This is sketch. Everything is sketch.
It'll run.
It's so sketch. It's so last minute. They just threw it together.
This isn't even your engine. This is the shop's engine.
Exactly. It's not even my motor.
Yesterday, Jamal didn't even have an engine in this car, and then he just borrowed the shop's.
So here we are. Yeah, dude. If the motor would stop giving trouble, everything else on the car is ready.
Chances that it survives the weekend.
That's all I got.
All right, let's get it started.
My hands.
I know.
They're cold.
That's why I got mine tucked away.
Yeah. Did I bring my key? Yeah, thankfully the steering wheel's not
So what are we doing now, Jamal?
zip tying parts of the car so that things don't go flying as we're driving.
Precision engineering at its finest.
Still in pieces.
Matt Brooks, everybody.
We figured it'd be like an hour before you guys got there.
You assumed, right? See, that's like the second day now here at the Dragon. We didn't get a whole lot of filming done yesterday simply because we spent half the day trying to get Jamal's car fixed. Shaquille has joined us now on the Red 370 over there. And we're going to see if we can get Jamal's car started again.
We're defrosting it first.
Defrosting it because it is cold outside and we've got tons of fog as well. It's a common theme here on this trip apparently. Here we go, guys.
Chance.
Fingers crossed. Hey! So how are we feeling?
Pretty good. I mean, it started right up. It's a goddamn miracle.
Well, now the part where we leave, I ain't trying to stand around all day.
So for the first time, we lined up all 4 cars together.
Oh, we're like a candy cane. The group keeps expanding.
So you ready for your first run of the Dragon? Take that as a yes. So yeah, we're about to take off here. First run of the day. See how it goes.
9:15, 9 o'clock.
Early morning gap.
Already people all over.
Early morning run on Deals Gap. Jamal is over there getting
People
fuel.
Just
And,
merge together, look around, like, are they going? Okay, I'm going too now.
All right, let's go. There's something addicting about this road. The constant bombardment of corners and bordering trees on either side, keeping the driver focused on the road. It's as if it was purpose-built for the act of driving and not as another piece of asphalt meant to carry you from point A to point B, but where the destination is the road itself. We stopped at the base of the Dragon to take in the scenery. And then, as we were headed back up the Dragon to return home, I found myself following Matt in his BMW, becoming narrow-focused on his car and trying to catch up with him, not paying attention to my surroundings, and that's when disaster struck. I have had countless people try to tell me that it wasn't my fault, that it was due to the fact that I had hit a cold spot in the road, or that I had encountered brake failure, or the tires weren't warm, but at the end of the day, this was the result of me being stupid, not paying attention to the road and driving too fast. Everyone makes mistakes, it's part of life, and all we can really do is hope that we try to learn from them as best as we can. Unfortunately, this was a very expensive mistake, but sometimes it takes a hammer to bend a nail, and make you realize that you aren't as invincible as you might think. I came out completely unscathed. In fact, the impact was so soft the airbags hadn't even gone off, because I had gotten very lucky and was saved by this log, which prevented me from sliding further down to the bank and into some trees. Of the 10 to 20 cars that had wrecked that day, I was remarkably the best off, suffering only a damaged front bumper, some punctured coolant and steering fluid hoses, and a bent inner tie rod, which I was able to fix in my garage a week later. Reviewing this footage, I was actually shocked how well I'd even handled the situation, joking about the whole thing as I readied the car to be towed. What?
What did the code say?
Nothing's wrong with it.
Nothing, not at all, not a single thing.
I worked to pull the rear bumper off to ready the car for the tow truck, who made it a couple of hours later. We got the Z out of the ditch with little incident, and I was able to limp it off to the side of the road so I could put it all back together. So we just finished getting the 370Z pulled out of the ditch here. Shaquille's over there helping pull some of the stuff out of the ditch. So I think the car is going to drive. It doesn't have power steering anymore, because power steering, the little cooler radiator thing, that's just completely trash. I think it was leaking out its power steering fluid, but I think it's going to drive. It'll just be really difficult in parking lots. So, yeah. Say hi, Shaquille. What a friend. All right, so yeah, we're gonna get the car put back together here, and hopefully we can get it back to Texas. Unfortunately, the car wouldn't drive, so I was sent on a 2-hour journey to search for a U-Haul and a car trailer, and this 20-footer was the only thing I could find on short notice. And so, having never driven a large truck or a trailer before, and very tired from the previous day's events, I set out on the 800-mile trip back to Texas. So as you can see, I of course am not in the 370Z. That's because I am now towing it with a U-Haul. I'm sure my voiceover would have explained what exactly happened, but long story short, we had to get a U-Haul because there was no way the 370 was going to drive for 800 miles to be able to get back to Texas. So I've picked up this mammoth of a U-Haul because it was the only thing that I could find at about 8 at night yesterday. So I currently have the Z loaded up on it right now. More than halfway home. I'm just outside of Memphis, currently towing it all the way back. I should be able to unload it when I get home and then begin the repairs over the next couple of days. Driving this thing is a bit challenging. I've never driven anything this size before, and I've never driven with a trailer. So it's really tricky trying to find gas stations I can actually pull into. I think I've been kind of getting the hang of it though. But yeah, so we're just going to go ahead and continue driving home, and I'll see you when I get there. I drove the car all the way home where it was successfully unloaded and the U-Haul returned. Oh, and whatever happened to Gerald? Well, he was busy driving Matt's car back to Texas, helping with the fuel stops and taking breaks every couple of hours to stay vigilant, but fatigue got the best of him, and he sent the car into a deer just outside of Texarkana. It seems every car he touches has a tendency to get into wrecks, so I think it's safe to say he won't be going on any road trips with us anytime soon. And that's where this trip ends. We had seen some new things, made some new friends, and learned a lesson or two along the way. I think that's all you can really ask for when it comes to adventure. Hello everybody, and I hope you enjoyed the video that you just saw. This was something a little bit different than what I've normally done in the past, which has mainly been DIY videos and lecture type videos. I wanted to try a little bit of vlogging, so I brought all my camera equipment with me on my trip. I also got a chance to try and do a little bit of nature photography, which I'm finding out GoPros aren't exactly the best for that, so hopefully in the future I'll be able to upgrade my camera equipment and improve the quality of the videos that I make. This was quite an edit. I think I've got a total of like 36 hours into this video. It is a little bit different than what I've normally done in the past, but I enjoyed every minute of it. It's been really fun putting this together for you guys. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you think it could use some work, hey, leave a comment down below as well. I'm open to criticism. Thank you guys once again for watching. Subscribe for more content. I'll see you all in the next one. Later.